Thank you, Mr Hayes. Ms Patten.
Thank you, Acting President. I rise to speak to the Sustainable Forest Timber Amendment Timber Harvesting Safety Zones Bill 2022, a bill that purports to improve Victoria's legislative framework for safe timber harvesting. The bill is said to respond to increased dangerous forest protest activity in timber harvesting safety zones, but the government haven't been able to document evidence of increased OH&S incidents in their briefing to my office. Rather, it seemed like it was a vibe thing. Like, we're worried that this could be. Well, my vibe is that this isn't an OH&S bill at all. Rather, it's the corruption of an OH&S framework for the primary purpose of criminalising peaceful protest. It's crude. It doesn't have my support. I've spoken in this place many times in criticism of native logging. It's unnecessary and there are far better options. We're already seeing native timber plantations, there's hemp for paper, etc. And it seems quite absurd to me, these repeated legislative efforts to shore up an industry which has been completely phased out by 2030. So with laws like this, where the consequences could also be the permanent phasing out of some of our most precious endangered species, it also sets a dangerous precedent, and we heard that from Mr Hayes, that we start here in using OH&S as a form of stopping protests, and where do we stop? Forest protests are not arbitrary. As we've seen in court cases like the Friends of the Leadbeater Possums versus Vic Forests, there have been numerous contraventions of environmental laws in numerous forest areas where unlawful logging occurred that failed to avoid serious and irreversible damage to the greater glider, which was less than a month ago listed as an endangered species. I think it's important to understand, and I've met with them, that the average protester is a 60-year-old woman taking a photograph of a habitat tree with a GPS location in shot to document that that particular tree should not be cut down. Freedom to protest sits at the heart of our democracy. It's enshrined in our Charter of Human Rights. It is a right that we should be protecting, just like the species that are placed in jeopardy by unlawful logging, for which this type of protest is an important check and balance. We've seen this play out clearly in our courts many times, and as Mr Hayes mentioned, this was not once, this was not twice. There has been at least 66 incidences that were alerted by so-called protesters in the forest. You may ask, if we see a tree with a great glider in it, if a tree with a great glider in it falls in a forest, but there's no protester around to hear, did it really happen? I don't support the bill. The Reason Party doesn't support the bill. And in that context, and I thank Ms Barth for providing me with some information about her amendments on this bill, but I can't support those either.